Good morning, everyone. Well, I'm going to start the process of putting Nordico in the two rein, and generally I like to start that out by just kind of making sure the horse is with me with my balances, um, and soft. I want him really um, supple. And the reason is that when we throw that bridle on, the spade on, it's an amplifier of our signals, and so um, it's going to make everything a little louder for him. And so I want to make sure that he's soft, that he can take that that amplification. And I'm getting, because I can no longer cheat him too much with my two rein, or with my, I want to keep that bridle, keep it straight and stuff. So I'm going to start working his body through my balances, right? So when I round up, the horse can come into me. When I get neutral, he can just move. That's where I want him to move. And when I go up, he goes. So here, if I sit up, that means we're going. I'm also going to work a little bit on just kind of pushing that horse up to my bow salida from behind there till he finds the balance, right? So I'm going to pull myself together a little bit, push him up. Probably didn't need quite that much. Push him up, have him release. And so it's real important that he follow in my body, so I have to soften when he gets a little excited there. I just had to soften back up. There we go. Because I'm not wearing spurs, because I want to keep this horse supple and, pretty forgiving with that bridle. So I need to be soft. There we go. So if I quit riding, he just quits. I like to use one of these little whips because it's just so much quicker than, doesn't get you out of position very much, and you can just use a little. And the other reason is I want to send the energy from behind to my hand. From behind to my hand. There we go. That's going to round the horse up, right? Going to push his hind end up and then catch the energy and have him find the balance of the bow salida. So when that bow salida's, the heel knot's pointed straight back to his neck, but it's not tilted up, he's probably getting pretty close to the right position. Good. Kind of move him around here. Make sure he's supple in his hips. Do a little shoulder in. Doesn't take much. Get his hip to come through a little bit. I need to be able to shape this horse's body, because when I'm in the bridle, I can't really do much with my hands, especially in the beginning. And so when I shift my seat and I close a door and open up a door, I need him to find it. Moving some things, get him feeling his hind legs a little bit. There we go. The more he gets his hip engaged, the more he gets his hocks engaged, the better he's going to do with this. I'm going to be able to push that hip in without him getting bothered. I need to be able to shape him, right? So here. And so I'm just practicing this stuff a little bit before I put the bridle on him. Make sure that what kind of mood he's in. I'll know how much to expect. It turned off cold and blustery here, so it'll take a little time warming him up. Making sure that he can find that balance. So now I'm going to go ahead and get off and get my rein or my bridle, and we'll be right back. All right, so now he's got a new bridle we're going to put on him here, and it's really important to know where the balance point of that bridle is. When it's up here, you see it's just putting the weight on the cannon bar. As I dip my hand down, it starts to roll off there. You know that's about the angle that that bridle wants to be at. If it's not there, it's not happy. And that's one of the most difficult things with a well-balanced spade bit, is that whether you pick up the reins or not, it's talking. So it's not happy here, it's only happy when it's at this angle. That's where it lives. And I can move that. You see how much those rein swings? You can't feel anything in your hand when it's in balance. You can't feel that move, rock back and forth. That's why I only use Santa Barbara bits, is because that counterbalance. So many bits will just rock back and forth in your hand, but it's really quiet even when there's a lot of movement in the chains. So I really strongly recommend, if you're going to ride with balance and you're not just pulling on things, to use something that balances like that's got a steady neutral position, just like our seats. And so this is the second day, and so yesterday he gets a little worried about this, so I'm going to take my time. I'm going to touch his mouth and kind of work him, put my fingers in here as I'm holding this bridle up here, just so I can tell him it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And this is worth taking your time with, right? So I'm just here, I'm going to relax. I'm going to keep myself from getting in a hurry, right? Takes what it takes. Easy, bud. Easy, buddy. There you go. I've got to talk him into this. I can't force it on him, and so I have to wait for him. And some of them it takes a while. I may start in on the corner of his mouth here, but I'm going to wait until he quits flipping his head like that. Because if I put that bit in there when he's flipping his head, he's not going to have a good experience. And then I'm going to have to do more. Oh boy. Easy. Easy. All right. Yeah, okay. You're all right. Oh, you're tight-faced. Oh, you're tight-faced. Oh. Oh. Yeah. Easy, buddy. Come on. Come on. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. This is quite a bit different for a horse, you know. He's only been in the hackamore. He's had this on a couple times, but you know, these bits are pretty busy, so it takes a minute for him to get used to them. I'll do my curb strap. Not too tight, not too loose, so I can fit two fingers in it flat, But that's about it. I don't want it sloppy hanging down there, because then that bit's going to bounce too much. It'll make too much noise for him. Show him the balance of it. Make sure it's adjusted right. It's a brand new head stall as well, so sometimes I'll go a little bit shorter in the beginning just to keep it quieter. So I'll pull the braces up into his lips a little bit, and that'll quiet it down for him. It just depends on where their teeth are. But new head stalls also get some stretch to them, so you got to watch that. And as he quiets down, I'm going to push up and down on this bit. And if I feel any teeth clank, but that's pretty good right there. Don't get too excited if they're not taking it right away, you know. And a lot of times, if he keeps being challenging, I usually in a few days they kind of get better. I'll put some olive oil on that bit or something that makes him like it. You can put a little salt on there, but I find olive oil is pretty easy. Good for rust too, so good for your leather. Little olive oil. You can even sprinkle a little salt on it. So I'm going to work his neck here, try to get him to relax, release these endorphins. Good. All right. Might move him around a little bit. Right, same thing, getting him to engage his body, step through, work his hip a little bit. Forward, forward, forward. And I really recommend that when you're doing this, you don't do a lot of stopping and backing up for a little while. You know, at least hard stopping. Let them figure this bit out. Let them learn how to hold it. Steady in their mouth. Right now, it's all about him just finding the balance and learning to hold it. And that's all it is for a little while. We'll kind of keep going with these videos a little bit, and hopefully you guys will see that transformation. All right. I think he's okay to get on. Let's see. Wait for your horse, okay? Don't get in a big fired hurry. You got to learn to wait for him. I get round, I'm going to pick up my reins. I don't like to leave my reins flopping. I don't want them to ever hit the bit, but I don't want them swinging around wildly either. I'm just going to walk around. I'm going to use my body to get him to relax. And you can hear him working that bit, right? And sometimes they will, and sometimes they'll just hold it tight. I almost like it better when they work it a little bit. Being this is his second day, he's kind of loosening it up. And all I'm going to try to do is quiet that, right? So as I go, I'm going to find the rhythm in my seat. I'm going to be relaxed. I'm going to move with him and just let him kind of find it. And so this is a lot like, you know, a lot of people put a horse in a stall or bit it or tie it up and bit it. And, you know, depending on the horse, I think that if the horse isn't very well prepared, that might be a way to do it. I would rather be here mobile, either working on the ground or on their back, because I can help them, and they're not learning to evade the balance and, do things like put their head way down. I'm showing him the balance and about where I want him to be. He's a little lower because I'm not engaging him from behind yet, but I'll wait for that, especially since we had a big barometric pressure change. I'm going to be pretty cautious about that, because that can sure change how horses feel about things. Right? It's got to be my body. So if I come up here, I'm just going to slightly nudge him up. Nudge him up, nudge him up. Relax, stay with him. Not ask for very much. You'll notice my hand is like really still. And so when I do things, I'm going to do it with my seat, not my hand, because I don't want to throw him off finding the balance. And so the more you move your hand, the more noise you make, the more disruptive you have for having them find that balance. He can find it with rhythm, right? So if I'm in a soft rhythm, it allows him to find it, staying soft, letting him figure it out. If you're new to this, you may walk around for several days, or put it in at the end of a lesson, a lesson when they're feeling good, but I've done quite a few, but still I have to be careful. After your first 100, you put in the 2 rein, you start to get a little more feel for it. And listening, right? I'm listening to this horse. If he needs me to soften my back, then that's what I'll do. Then I'll come back here and say, yeah, good boy. Right now, he's having a discussion with that bit. He's like, okay, you keep trying to find your balance point, and I keep, moving around here. And what I want to be is real steady. So I don't want to disrupt the balance point of the bit too much. I want to encourage the horse. I know where the balance point is, so I'll use my 2 rein to encourage the horse to find that place, so that everything quiets down, becomes really, really quiet. This bit is an amplified signal, but mainly it's a balancer. What we're trying to do is get that horse to balance on the balance of the bit, to stay balanced through his body and give that. So if you were a classical dressage rider, you would say lightly on the bit with an elastic rein. Well, that's what we have. We're just doing it through weight and balance. They're with the bit instead of on it. We don't want them to push on the bit, and then we want them to go to the bit, find the balance. Go to the bit, find the balance. And so we have to encourage that. And so that's the big part about going to the 2 rein. You'll see people, and they'll go like, oh yeah, one day I'm going to a Brandon, I'm just going to throw him in the 2 rein. Well, there's no better way to ruin a horse's bridling experience than, put it in the 2 rein all of a sudden and then go to working hard and never giving them a chance to find the balance. You got to use a little common sense sometimes. Ooh, you see right there, I stopped my butt a little hard, and that brought his head up. And so he'll learn those things in time. They don't make as big a difference, but the first few days they make a huge difference. So you got to stay really focused on keeping it pretty nice for him. And it's just because they were one way yesterday doesn't mean they're going to be that way today. And so you always got to think, you've got to adjust the way you're riding the horse to the way it's feeling that day. That whole business, oh well, he was good yesterday, doesn't make any difference in anything really, but especially in this. We have to keep working on ourselves. There we go. Good boy. I just really encourage that horse to just soften himself up. Right? And I can create that. If I want him to bend a little more, I just move his body over. Stay out of his way. You can see he's searching. And so I have to keep everything quiet enough to allow him to look. Right? Horses are a little bit like me. You gotta turn the radio down so they can concentrate on what they're doing. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. He was good, he was listening, and I always want to do it stop at a point where they're still pretty interested. He quieted down some. He's still working it, and that's fine. But I'm just going to relax. We really want to keep it simple. Keep it supple, keep it simple. Taking this off, you have to be just as cautious as putting it on. Anything that you do can really mess them up, and it's a real hard problem to fix when they get kind of bothered about this. Sometimes they're a little bit tough to bridle at first, but they'll get better. But if you keep calm, if you keep relaxed, if you keep showing it, a lot of times they'll kind of push their nose out when you start taking this off. And so, like he's doing there, I really want to encourage him. There you go. There. Undo the curb strap. Let him find it. Try to keep him soft enough. And being, he's not used to me handling him a lot too. Over next few, I've got him for a while, and over this time he'll learn to where he just understands it more and more. People, they never start perfect, okay? They never start perfect. We're just working our way and trying not to make anything too bad happen along the way. And so the softer and more supple we have the horse, the more that they look for balances in our body and the equipment. Patience is really key. It doesn't matter what they did in just the hackamore, right? They may have been bridling to perfection. When you start this process, you're starting over. But you're doing it, in an amplified, very smaller fashion. So it's starting over, but from a point, say, from here to here. You're starting over and only limiting yourself to being able to move this much instead of this much. And that's why we have to be really still to start that working, is because everything's done smaller and smaller and smaller. And that should be throughout the horse's life. What we're trying to do is always get more correct work from the horse, correct action from the horse with smaller and smaller and smaller movements. But, just a little bit about the 2 rein and things to look for. There's quite a bit to it, so you could do a lot of tapes on that in itself. But a little look into the start of Nordico's journey into being a bridle horse. Have a good one.